Hello everybody, my name is Joseph and you're watching How to Phalaenopsis. Today I'm going to repot one. I'm going to show you how to repot one because as you can see here, some of the roots have kind of dried up and died already, and the leaves are looking kind of limp. So let's get into it. The tools you're going to need for this video are a pair of scissors. You can reuse the pot that you normally have, that you already have the plants in. So I'm going to reuse the pot for the sake of this video. And some orchid bark. I like to use the coarse blend because it is good for epiphytic orchids like Phalaenopsis here. And let me angle the camera down so we can get into it. Okay. There we go. All right, so I have this one here. Now, all you're gonna do is you're just gonna gently squeeze around the edge of the pot here to release the roots from the pot, just like that, okay? And you're gonna take it out like this. Don't worry about making a mess because we're gonna clean it up later. Now, what you want to do is you want to go through gently and pick out all of the bark. Now, some orchids will have what's called rock wool in the middle, which all that is it's basically a type of wool that they use to keep plants moist. I personally don't like to use that. A lot of people use sphagnum moss, and that is my preferred method for keeping roots moist. So this is actually a good example right here, because that right here is the rock wool. You want to take that out. So I'm going to take that out right here. There we go. It doesn't matter if you damage anything, like rock wool wise, or the pot that surrounds it. Sometimes it will have a pot that surrounds it. I don't like to personally use this. So now we're gonna see which roots are still good and which roots aren't. Keep in mind, we're not snipping off any dead or any live stuff here. So all this live stuff, like all of these roots here, this is a live root. You don't want to snip this off. Just the dried up bits here. These aren't going to provide any nutrients to the plant anymore. Now, this is where the scissors come in handy. This, I just kind of rinsed off with a little bit of water. You don't have to sterilize them. The only way that you would need to sterilize them is if you're going to snip off some of the live stuff, like live leaves or live roots or live flower spikes or any kind of a thing like that. Otherwise, just simply rinsing them off with water, that's good enough. So now we're going to see here which roots are still healthy. Look here. Okay, a good majority of them are still healthy, but there's another good majority of them that aren't. So you want to take them all the way down to the root, to the base of the plant right here, because as you can see, that's all dried up. We're just going to snip that off. It should come away like that. And we're going to do that for all the rest of them. And again, you don't want to snip off any of the roots here that look green. You just want to snip off the roots that look brown or dead or dying, because those aren't going to provide any more nutrients to the plant at all. Okay, now this one here has got 2 flower spikes here that are dead. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip those off as well. It might be a little bit hard to snip off. Okay. All right, I'd say that looks pretty good. I could go ahead and snip off these ones here, but I'm gonna leave them just to be safe. So the main ones that you want are these green ones here, or any new growth ones like these. These ones are gonna be very healthy and you don't wanna snip those off. Okay, so this looks pretty good right now. I'm gonna put this one off to the side right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna gather up all of the dead roots that we just snipped off here. And I'm gonna put them into a separate pile. Okay. This you can put in a terrarium, and other insects and other stuff likes to eat this. So as a bonus tip for y'all. So that goes right there. Now, because this orchid bark isn't mulching or isn't kind of deteriorating in any shape, I'm going to just use this to put back into the pot here. You don't have to do that. You can do that if you want to. But me personally, I don't like to waste materials. So, and I can see that this bark is still good, so that's why I'm gonna reuse it. So, we need our pot here, the same pot that it came with, or a different pot depending on your plant. I'm just gonna put a little bit in the bottom here. Maybe a little bit more, since I snipped off a little bit. Since I snipped off quite a bit here. That should be good. Okay. So because the root system looks like this, I'm gonna keep the minimum depth of the pot to about half. So now what you wanna do is you wanna put the plant in here, and you don't wanna pack the roots. Packing the roots will cause damage and it will hurt the plants for a long time. It takes a little bit to produce roots like this. So any type of damage will actually harm the plant. So then I'm gonna fill up this side here. And because the bulk of the mass inside the pot was made up from the roots, I'm going to have to open up this potting mix, this orchid potting mix, which is just bark, and I'm gonna have to put a little bit in there. So, let's open this up here. Okay. Take care not to damage the leaves too. Alright, so in the back here, there's a huge open void. Right in here. That all needs bark. So don't get angry if you don't think you're able to pot these properly. Phalaenopsis orchids are called epiphytic orchids, which means that they can grow without a substrate, any kind of proper substrate. So like your typical houseplants, they would have to require a substrate, but Phalaenopsis orchids don't. So you can actually mount them on wood pieces or bark pieces or branches and stuff like that, and it would grow. A lot of people have a misconception that orchids like to be root bound. In my experience, this isn't true. I've had the best success with actually keeping the orchids in a pot where they have room to grow, and repotting them when they get to, I repot them into a bigger pot when the leaves start to show through the sides of the glass here, or in this case, acrylic. So I am going to leave this right now. This might look a little bit sloppy, but don't worry, they will grow down to the bottom of the pot eventually. I am going to leave this like this, and all I'm going to do is just water it. So let's put this bag away. And there you go. That's how you repot a Phalaenopsis orchid. So the care requirements for this are going to be misconstrued, or they're going to be really confusing. A lot of the places where you get them, they have little tags on them that say how to take care of them. In my experience, they don't work. Some things tell you to put ice cubes in it, or they tell you to put like 3 ounces of water, and then they don't tell you, basically, they don't really go into detail about how to take care of them. They just kind of give you a range of stuff, and sometimes that can be a little confusing. Angle the camera up a little bit here. So the way I typically like to take care of these is I like to have them in 70 degrees all across the board. I like to have them in partial sun. Do not put them in full sun because you'll burn the leaves. I like to water them, but when I water them, I like to flood them once a week. But then you have to make sure that all the water drains out before you go put them back in the pot. The pot, I like to put a few stones in the bottom of them to kind of lift this up a little bit so it acts like a drainage layer. So then the water is not standing, because trust me, you don't want to have standing water when it comes to orchids like this. The smell of rotting orchid is not a pleasant smell. So then what I like to do is I like to put them on the windowsill, but sometimes you can do this if you want to. Sometimes what I do is I put a piece of paper or like tissue paper in front of the window to kind of filter out the sunlight. So it's still getting a lot of indirect sunlight, but not like, it's not being overwhelmed by the sun like that. And that's pretty much how you take care of them. That's pretty much all the success that I've had with these, and it may be a little bit different for you, but this is a tutorial about how to take care of them. So if you want, follow my advice. I promise you more than likely won't be disappointed. So there it is, the repotted Phalaenopsis. I am going to water it a little bit after this, but then it should come back. The leaves are a little bit droopy here, but a little bit of water should fix that. And also getting rid of all the dead stuff helps with keeping the space open, and all the roots that are dead can harbor like bacteria and stuff, so it eliminates the possibility of that. But there you go. It really is that simple. I will see you in the next video.